Hi guys, we're back. Hello, welcome back this week. So last week we were discussing intention and the power of intention. And we were just like briefly going over it, I suppose. But this week we want to look at the difference between setting an intention from fear and ego, or setting an intention from love and our higher self, and how to set an intention from this place. So, yeah.
Yeah. And they're worlds apart.
Yeah.
From my experience, both professionally and personally, with my own intentions and the intentions of my clients, it's when our intentions are driven from our place of our ego, it's like this push and effort, and for want of a better word, like this not getting to what we want, and just creating so much frustration and anxiety and almost despair. Whereas when we come from the place of our higher selves, even when we're challenged, we know in our hearts of hearts, our intuition, because that's what our higher self is, our intuition. We know that's part of the process. That's the path. That's like the stepping stones to what we're desiring or what we're intending.
Yeah, and so it's important to, when you're setting intentions, it's important to be aware of that. Like, where are you setting your intention from? Is it coming from a place of ego? Like, is it an intention that possibly has resistance or fear connected to it? Or is it an intention that comes from a place of love, from light, feeling light? And how do we do that then? How do we step into that then?
So just then what's come to me there, Aoife, is then how do people know that when they're not? We're obviously trained, we've been doing it so long, but how can people discern that for themselves? And how you can do that is start asking yourself questions, like why questions. Why do I want this? Truly, why do I want it? And often a lot of people will set intentions, and when they ask themselves why they want it, they don't actually know. And that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Because often intentions driven from the ego don't know, they're on autopilot. They're being driven by what you think you should do and how you think you should be, and wanting to fit in and wanting to be better and wanting to compete and wanting not to be seen or not to fit in various ways. But that's a red flag when you ask why do you want that, and you pause and there's a blank. You don't know why you want it.
Yeah, and also when you said like stop for a second and ask, you also have to stop for a second and sit with yourself and feel. So like what is the feeling? Like, do you know, a good way of knowing where that intention is coming from, whether ego or higher self, is to feel it as well. Like, ask those things and then kind of say, well, what am I feeling about this? Like, what frequency am I on? What's the vibration of it? Because true, like, powerful intention setting is not only the thought that you have and the desire that you want, it's about like stepping into the feeling as if you are already embodying that, but you're already creating the momentum of the frequency of the desired results. So it's like, it's a positive feeling, you'll know, because it'll be a positive feeling, it'll be a positive thought.
Yeah, so there's two parts that come to that. So when we ask, is it a true intention? Is it an authentic intention? And we ask, why do we want it? What's our drivers behind it? And if we sit for a few minutes and ask those questions, do I actually really want that? Or do I just want it because that's what I've been taught I should do, or what's expected of me? And when you ask those why questions and you get to the root of the why, you'll, and as Aoife says, sit with it and then tap into the body. So that's one end of the spectrum. You sit with it, because when you get to the why, and if you get to the why that you're doing it because you think that you should do it, or you're doing it because you think that you're not enough and you want to fit in, you'll feel that discomfort and that yuck in the body of just being like, it's unpleasant when you trigger those whys of not being enough or not being capable. And then, as Aoife says, the other part of the feeling then is when you know that it's driven from just a why, a passion, a desire. It comes from your your heart of hearts. It lights you up. It feels warm. It feels fuzzy. It feels cozy. It feels a little bit exciting. So that's the difference in the feeling part of
Yeah.
integrating.
Yeah, and like as you said, then when you sit with yourself and it feels yucky, then it's coming from your ego, it's coming from your fears. It's coming from probably, setting intentions from your ego and your fears. Like we can still attract them into our lives, but then you're attracting something that you don't want. So you're actually resisting, and then when you're setting that intention from your higher self, from a place of love and ease and light, like you should feel light in your body, you should feel joy. Like even the thought of setting the intention brings you into that feeling, embodies that frequency.
Yeah, what the image came to me there when you were describing that experience of intention was like, I just got like a young child skipping to the playground or skipping to the park. That's what came to my mind, an image of that. It's just the being and the presence and the flow and the ease and just the lightness is when you hitting that is like I literally got an image of a child skipping to a park.
And with the intention to have fun. The child is skipping to the park
Exactly.
with one intention only, it's just to have fun. And
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, and I think as well, so like, so then what do you do? Like you sit, like an intention for me is not, but like is a thought initially, but it's like, as we were talking about before we started, it's the CSI method, it's what we do. So it's like, it's a cognitive, a thought, but then it's like a somatic, it's a feeling in the body. And then it's the intuitive, it's like, once we have that thought, that feeling, and we embody it, then intuitively we are guided. Things flow. Things start to appear in our line of vision or in our worlds or in our lives that will align with the intention if it's coming from a higher place. It'll happen if it's coming from ego as well, but you don't want that. What you're trying to do is like, live your life through your higher self. So and that's the difference. And like, as well, like one of the rules of the mind is we can't think of two things at the one time. So when we're aware, setting the intention, so setting the intention is sitting and becoming aware of what it is you really want and thinking that thought, because if we're thinking a negative, we can't think a positive, and vice versa. And like, that's one of the rules of the mind. But and then it's setting that momentum. So we have the momentum set, you know.
Yeah, it's like then you're magnetized towards that when it's created from there, from the intention of your higher self, your authenticity, your truth. But you said something there, Aoife, that just dawned on me in regards to when it's created by the ego, it can still happen. But actually it might appear like it's still happening. But what generally happens when you're creating from the place from the ego, you create something and you get there and you're satisfied for like that fleeting moment, and then you're on search for something else because you're not really fulfilled, because you're fulfilling from the ego comes from the place of not being enough, not being adequate, not being loved. It's like nine identities, compensatory behavioral identities from the ego. But when that is what's driving it, you can create what you want with a lot of stress, push, and effort. Generally, the creation from the ego is that. But you get there and it's like, I'm not fulfilled, I'm not satisfied. And it's like, how can I up my game? How can I level up? And you're on this constant chase, because that's the ego. That's another warning sign, red flag, that the ego is in your creative experience, so to say. And it's literally, you're not genuinely fulfilled. But when you come from the place of creating from your higher self, your truth, it's internal, it's a nourishment of your soul, and it comes when you can experience and learn and adapt to using the intuition to even ask what that is. And of course that comes with experience, right? If it's like when you figure out what you want and make clear it's not coming from the ego, a lot of people are left with, okay, I noticed this is coming from the ego. Now I don't even know what I want. And that's natural, because if you're used to living by the ego, you haven't been used to tapping in and communicating with your intuition.
Well, it's kind of like what the universe wants for you versus what you think you want for yourself.
Or what you've been conditioned to believe that you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we think we want for ourselves is only programmed and conditioned into how we were told we should have it, or it should be, or how society expects it to be. And that's just stress. God damn it. Like, I'm just like, even thinking about it, I'm like, oh my Lord, like, it's such an internal conflict of your true self, your intuition, and that's the voice of the intuition is just dampened down. But using the CSI method, integrating the cognitive, the somatic, and the intuitive, right, we can have that true, authentic knowing within, and then our somatic, our body, and our cognitive, our minds align to it, and then that's the energy that you're moving, creating with, being propelled, because energy follows the path of least resistance, right? So we're moving that direction, and that's the difference.
And like then we're like, I mean, we're always given the vibrational equivalent of our thoughts, you know. So like once we make clear our intention, and once we put the momentum into it and the energy and the frequency into it, then we will vibrate at that equivalent energy and frequency.
Yes, I love that. We get what our thoughts vibrate at, and our thoughts come from either the ego or the intention. And if they come from the intention, it's authentic and creative, and you'll vibe thoughts of that, and you'll vibe all of you with that. What a beautiful ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what? Yeah, insightful. Nice to remind myself as well in my own creations and experience of life, right? To remind myself of what it feels like to be intuitively connected and aligning my mind and body into my end results, my intentions.
Yeah. But just before we finish, it's important because people might be asking, well, how do I set an intention then? So like it is there's like, you know, if you're doing, so you can writing it down is quite powerful when you're setting an intention, write it down. So it's clear and it's precise and it's there in front of you, but also then even saying it out loud, because our voice has a frequency. So when we are saying it, we're connecting to that energetic frequency, and like having it there to even look at it as a reminder of, you know, it's like a vision board, or like you know, you visualize it then, or even put something up on your vision board that is the intention of where you want to be. So like, you know, there's 3 kind of very simple tasks that will align you with the momentum of the intention.
Yeah. And then so important, then go back to the alignment of the mind and the body. You have that image, you have that vision, you have a picture in your vision board. You can imagine placing it into the center of your mind and it being absorbed into the pathways, into the neurology of your mind. And then you want to drop into the body. The mind and body are connected, and we need to educate the body into the feeling of that image. So ask yourself simply, what does it feel like to have that?
Yeah.
What is life looking like now in the presence of this? And sit in the feeling
of it,
of that image and that vision.
Yeah.
Voila.
Yeah. Life without the problem. That's what we do. Life without the problem.
Voila.
What would that look like? Yeah.
Yeah. Life
So
in your bliss, life in your intention from your intuition and heart.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, lady, I'm on my
I know, back to work. You're back to work. I'm on my midterm, thank God. Yeah.
Okay, sweetheart. Chat
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. Chat soon.